This is chapter 2 of the book Liver Cleansing During the Childbearing Season. I'm going to title the chapter of this book, the title of this chapter, Caution. And the reason why is because if I have learned nothing else during my experiences of cleansing my internal organs, I have learned to respect the timing and the capacity of my body to cleanse this debris out. I think the case can even be made that the reason why I went psychotic in the first place after my daughter's birth was because I tried to cleanse too much, too fast. When I made the decision to do the spring water fast, I knew I couldn't do a full 5-day spring water fast like was recommended in Theron Randolph's book. But even making the choice to do a 3-day spring water fast and then start eating organic foods, one food per meal, was a very, very stupid decision on my part. I didn't understand then that in order to properly breastfeed, you need to get 120 grams of protein a day and an additional 500 calories a day on top of your normal meals to be able to make the breast milk. And so this lack of understanding on my part really led to a horrifying experience. I've been in contact with a lot of women who over the years have had the same experience I had, and we find the same patterns in our stories. Lack of nutrition, lack of sleep, trying to do too much, and one friend even went psychotic after trying to tandem nurse 3 children. She had a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a newborn, and here she was trying to breastfeed these 3 children, and just couldn't do it, and went psychotic and ended up in the mental hospital on medications. So I would say that my story is a cautionary tale that should be treated with a lot of wisdom. Don't make my mistakes. It's not worth it. I started to become manic within hours of starting that fast when Shelley was 3 months old, and the consequences of that were just horrible for our family, for our marriage. And as you are doing your cleansing, I would challenge you to do what Esther did in the Bible. Go back and read the story. It's fascinating. Before her marriage, she spent a whole year doing what they called purifications, using essential oils of myrrh, and cleansed her body. And what I believe she was doing was preparing her body for motherhood. And she spent that year cleansing and preparing herself for a wedding. And in that culture, weddings meant babies. So she was getting ready to have her children. And there's so much wisdom in that. If you're a young woman who's getting ready to get married and start welcoming your children, there is nothing wrong with you taking a whole year to just focus on your physical health and cleanse your body out and do some of these things I'm going to share with you in the upcoming chapters before you even think about having a baby or getting pregnant. One of the things I've also had a deep testimony about come into my mind is that we have got to be so cautious about coming off of our medications. If you are someone who's been taking a lot of drugs, legal or illegal, and you decide, okay, I'm going to go clean, that needs to be done with some caution. In fact, I've heard it said that for every year that you take an antidepressant, you need to take at least 1 month to come off that drug. So if you've been on an antidepressant for the last 5-10 years, you're not going to come off it safely in a week or a month. You need to do it very cautiously. You need to do it with your doctor's supervision. And this is something that should be done very carefully and be monitored throughout. There are some detox centers that won't even take people who are coming off antidepressants because they become so violent when they start to come off of them. They'd rather deal with the crack addict or the heroin addict than the person on the antidepressants. So please be cautious as you're going through this process. I was so blessed to be working with a psychiatrist who helped me wean very carefully. I mean, I got down to where I was taking one Prozac pill a week before I finally came off. And even the week that I decided to just stop altogether, I'm not taking any more pills, it was one of the hardest weeks of my life. I became manic, I was struggling emotionally, I was crying uncontrollably, and it truly freaked my husband out to see me showing all these behaviors. But you know, this is part of the drill when you've been on these psychiatric meds. Now, I didn't take any over-the-counter medications, I mean illegal street drugs when I was a teenager. I'm a devout Mormon and didn't smoke, never drank, so my body was pretty clean compared to some of my friends who are partying every weekend. But I took a lot of over-the-counter medications. I was constantly on antihistamines and antibiotics, which destroyed my ability to digest my food properly. And when I think about the state my body was in when I was married and getting ready to welcome my children, it's frightful to me now, thinking about someone in my poor health getting ready to welcome a child into my life. It's really frightening to me. And so I would challenge you who are getting ready to welcome your children, take the time, just take the time to wean off of your medications first, if you can. I know there's some medications you just have to take to be healthy, and that's fine, but you know, anything that's optional, just get off of it before you get pregnant. And then while you are pregnant and breastfeeding your children, especially while you're breastfeeding a newborn and are sleep deprived, you don't really want to do anything that will deeply cleanse your tissues during that sacred time. It's not worth it. Now, the one exclusion I would make for that is if you are pregnant and you were to have some sort of a gallbladder situation where you were looking at having gallbladder surgery while you were pregnant, that is where I personally would say, okay, I'm going to do some gallbladder cleanses, because I would rather do that than have the surgery. I think it's far safer. And gallbladder surgery while you're pregnant for both the mother and the baby can be deadly. So that would just be my personal choice. That'd be something you'd have to really think about. But while I was cleansing with my first cleanse, as I outlined in the other chapter, it was remarkable to me that after that one cleanse, just doing the simple things in the Hulda Clark protocol, I didn't have any more gallbladder attacks, and I didn't have any for like a year. And I didn't do any more cleanses. I instinctually felt that stirring the pot, if you will, too much would not be good for Andrew. And he didn't seem to have any deleterious effects from me doing that when he was 4 months old. That was about the time that he started on solid foods, and so I felt better about me doing the cleanse. He was one of these kids who was grabbing the food from our table when he was 4 months old. Conversely, I've had children who were not interested in solids until they were 14 months old. That was Allison. She did not start eating solids until she was over 1 year old. But because Andrew was big and healthy and on solid foods, I felt okay about doing this cleanse. But in your individual situation, I would really challenge you to look at who you are, look at how toxic you think your liver is, how bad are your allergies, how bad are your other symptoms of toxicity. Are you someone who's grown up around a lot of chemicals, maybe worked in an industrial situation where you're exposed to a lot of chemicals? These are all things you should take into consideration before you decide to do your first cleanse. And I can promise you that doing it while you have a newborn in a situation where you don't have a lot of physical support, it's not a good idea. So be very cautious and prayerful. If you're religious, get on your knees and ask the Lord to help guide you. I know He will, because He guided me. And so that's the end of this chapter. Caution. And now